I will not apologise for my absence because we both know you didn't notice it. I've been busy. From the 11th to the 15th of August I was at Bloodstock. After the fact I returned home for a day to wank myself into a coma, and then for the remainder of the month I was vacaying in Croatia. To my credit, I did actually write this review whilst I was there, meaning each word was fueled by cocktails and looked like they were written by foot, but I'll plough through it. My relationship with the Predator franchise has always been complicated. It is love, don't get me wrong, but certain installments have tested my affection. The first movie was fucking amazing. The sequel was inferior, but still a good film in its own right. The third offering was criminally underrated, and my opinion of the fourth contribution is well documented in the barely bloody readable section on my website, and also features in my review of 2018 because hideous disappointment of the year. As far as my views on the crossover series are concerned, I mean, at the time I was excited about the prospect of the debates I had with my classmates over what would happen if the alien and Predator were to have an encounter becoming corporeal. For the record, Team Yautja till I die. However, because of Requiem, the odds of me accepting them as canon is less likely than me adhering to Croatia's don't drink and quad bike law. It's 1917. We're in the Great Plains and Comanche healer Naru aspires to prove to her tribe that the hunting capabilities she possesses are legit. The opportunity arrives in the form of a Yautja that's so bloodthirsty he makes Dexter Morgan look like Hemophobia's bitch. When it came to analysing the Predator back in 2018, it was quite the struggle, as there were contrasting opinions between the film reviewer and lifelong fan of the series. With Prey, however, there was no internal conflict. Every single molecule of my being loves this movie. Even before the Predator shows up, I was already immersed, as the story, albeit basic, but that's what you want from a film of this nature, is very encapsulating. Sure, our protagonist's arc isn't very original, however that can be forgiven, as Amber Midthunder nails her performance so hard to the point where I wasn't particularly pissed that our antagonist spent less time in the spotlight than one would normally prefer. 1,000 golden dragons to whoever was in charge of location scouting, because the areas they selected to roll the cameras at were fucking beautiful, and also throw some golden dragons at the cinematographer for utilising that scenery to the maximum. The OST is also a sound to behold. I haven't listened to it outside of the movie because I've been relentlessly treating my ears to party canon, but it really does complement the everything almost as much as Mikkeller IPA agrees with my part-time drinking problem. I'm not drinking full-time, and that to me is a problem. Okay, let's talk about how the Predator is depicted in a movie where I would say he takes a supporting role. In one word, perfectly. Prey as a whole is very atmospheric, and the vast majority of that vibe comes courtesy of the villain. Yes, Amber Midthunder has a strong screen presence, but the Predator produces a more powerful aura, which is actually way more potent during his time out of shot. Obviously, when he takes center stage, you know shit's about to get fucked, but when he isn't in vision, you can still feel that suffocating anxiety that I imagine to be a common feeling when you're being hunted. Aesthetically speaking, this is my personal favourite design a Yautja has ever received. I loved that the weapons he was using were more primitive versions of what we have seen before, which of course makes sense as this was set 268 years prior to the first installment. His behaviour leans way more to what we're accustomed to from this species. I remember complaining about how the Yautjas featured in that tripe released back in 2018 were basically glorified wrecking balls as opposed to tactile hunters, but here our guy takes a more traditional Predator approach to his craft. Don't get me wrong, there's one particular scene where he goes into absolute beast mode, and I have no complaints at all about that because it didn't overstay its welcome. The violence conducted was super creative, the gore was magnificent, and the sound effects used to amplify all of this carnage were an orgasm to say the least. It was also fun seeing him face other creatures, and I liked that during all of his conflagrations, he didn't come away unscathed, which adds a sense of realism to the combat because seldom do people come out of fights in one piece. Just ask my proctologist about the time he refused to go deeper. Prey is the Predator sequel we have all been waiting oh so patiently for. It is by far the best chapter since the original, and a valid argument could be made for it being even better than that. Sorry, Arnie. Don't worry though, respect and homage are being paid to its ancestors for sure. There are Easter eggs dotted about, one of which is particularly cringy as fuck, you'll know it when you see it. With that said though, I passionately believe that Prey's premise should be the foundation that all future Predator films films are built upon, and by that I mean take a leaf from Assassin's Creed's book and place the Yautja in various points of history and have him fight whoever the fuck is around at the time. Predator versus Spartans, Predator versus Romans, Predator versus samurais, Predator versus Nazis, Predator versus pirates, Predator versus dinosaurs, fuck it, why not? The possibilities are endless and delicious. Predator versus Vikings. The thought of that makes me feel hornier than sexual misconduct when it thinks about Vince McMahon.